He tells me, I'm sorry, Julio, but I gotta show you something. I'm like, what you mean you gotta show me something? He showed me naked pictures of Ashley like this.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
No, you don't have to worry about that. If I'm a man, I'm gonna step up and do what I gotta do. My job is to protect you and to love you, to show you how a man's supposed to treat you, you know.
This case is already messy right from the start. Ms. Rogers says Mr. Stone got her pregnant, but he's dodging responsibility. He says it was just a fling and that she was with other guys. Things are already heating up.
You say after an encounter with your elementary school sweetheart, you ended up pregnant. Has gone through great lengths to deny he is the father of your son, Christian. You say Ms. Rogers is promiscuous and it was only a casual fling. You say she has even slept with some of your friends and therefore it is impossible you are the father of her baby.
Ms. Rogers runs into her childhood crush, and somehow they go from long time no see to having intimate violence twice in one day. Their fling lasted about a month before she found out he had a girlfriend. Just when you think that's the big drama, nope, it gets worse.
I was at my friend's house, or I was at her boyfriend's house, and we were chilling, and he walked through the door, and I'm like, really? We was talking, laughing. We went back to my friend's house with her boyfriend, and we had sex that day. We left her house and went back to his house and had sex again a couple times. And after that, it's just like, repeatedly, we would hang out, have sex.
And then, boom, Mr. Stone drops a bomb. Their unprotected night together was during a threesome. The judge mishears and thinks he said freezer, making things even funnier. The audience is already losing it, and we're only getting started.
Did you have unprotected sex
One time,
with
Your
Ms.
Honor.
Stone?
It was not one time.
And that was in the threesome.
It was not. It was
In
not
the
one time.
where?
And the threesome between me and her and...
We had a threesome. The night I found out that he had a girlfriend, we had a threesome.
Jerome, at first I thought he said in the freezer.
Ms. Rogers finds out she's pregnant while getting a birth control shot. Talk about bad timing. She's scared because she's 18 with twins and just got into college. Mr. Stone, however, swears she never even told him.
I went to the doctor to get my birth control shot because I know I'm having sex, so I'm like, I need to go because I don't want to have no more kids.
Anymore?
I have twins.
18 years old with 3 children?
Yes. I didn't want no more kids because I had just got accepted to college. Things was looking up, so I was like, I wanted to like put the cap on before anything happened, not knowing that I was already pregnant. So it was like, I was scared.
Ms. Rogers says Mr. Stone was right there for the ultrasound and even roasted the baby's big head. Mr. Stone says he never saw it and only got a picture through a text. Someone here is clearly lying, and the audience knows it.
Yeah, I wasn't driving. I was in the passenger seat. My friend came to me. We were chilling, talking, and then he said he had to go pick them up and drop them off.
He saw the ultrasound pictures when I came out the hospital. He looked at them. He held them in his hand and looked at them.
No, I did not.
Picture of my ultrasound. It said, you're having a boy. I didn't find out I was pregnant until I was 4 months pregnant. I give him that. I'm in the car with my friend. They had been over my house. They was like, I said, can you take me to my ultrasound? She said, okay.
Now we've reached the math part of the drama. Ms. Rogers says the doctor confirmed the baby was conceived in November, which lines up with their fling. Mr. Stone, though, is looking at the timeline like it's an impossible puzzle.
The lady said that I got pregnant during the beginning of November.
No, Your Honor, we were intimate between the 17th and the 22nd. My birthday is the 24th. It was the week before my birthday.
We had been having sex for almost a month. We started having sex at the end of October towards the end of November.
It was the beginning, like the mid-November.
Ms. Rogers pulls out text message receipts where Mr. Stone calls the baby my baby. Now he's backpedaling, saying he got attached but still isn't sure. At this point, everyone is just waiting for that DNA test.
This is the first time he's saying this. Let me tell you something. When me and him talk, this is his baby. This is
Really?
baby. He says my baby. He does not say the baby. He says my baby.
Text messages. The messages say, from Mr. Stone, what are you doing? And you say, sitting here. And Mr. Stone says, oh, okay, I miss Nugget. You write, okay. And then you write back, Mr. Stone, when can I have my baby?
And then, boom, plot twist.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Stone, you are not the father.
This situation was wild from the start. Phelan Hannon thought Kimball was her dad until at 13, he hit her with, I am not your father. Years later, on her mom's deathbed, she found out her real dad was David Dorsey. Now, she had to track down a man she had never met.
Miss Hannon, you grew up believing one man was your father until the age of 13 when he said, I am not your daddy. Your mother then told you on her deathbed that another man, the defendant David Dorsey, is your biological father. You are here to to prove paternity.
When Phelan was little, she asked Kimball to take her to a daddy-daughter dance. Instead of just going, he told her, "I'm not your dad. Good luck." That's a next-level RSVP rejection. Just when it seemed bad, things got even messier.
Well, I believe David Dorsey is my biological father, but I grew up with my grandparents and my mom. Like you said, I was known for a man named Kimball to be my dad. I called him one day, the daddy-daughter dance. Instead of his response being, "Yes, I'll be there," it was, "Your mother's still lying to you. Not your dad. You need to go find your real dad."
How cruel.
Before passing, Phelan's mom finally admitted she had guessed wrong. David Dorsey was her actual dad. So now, on top of grieving, Phelan had to track down a stranger and hope he didn't reject her too. Buckle up, this ride was far from over.
My mom, we would have our heart-to-heart because she was sick my whole entire life. You know, she would be talking about Kimball, she would talk about David. On her deathbed, she told me, "I thought I picked the right one for you, but David's your father."
So just before your mother passed, she says to you, "I thought I picked the right one for you, but David Dorsey is really your biological father."
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
Denial. Imagine telling someone, "Hey, you might be my dad," and they reply, "I don't even know your mom." David stood there, denying everything, while the audience gasped like they were watching a soap opera. But the receipts were coming.
You don't believe you're her biological father?
No, Your Honor.
Why?
Because I don't remember her mother at all.
You don't remember her mother.
I don't know her mother.
So you are standing here at the defendant's podium in this courtroom today saying you know you cannot be Miss Hannon's biological father because you have never met her mother.
No, I haven't, Your Honor.
David thought he could deny it all until Phelan's godmother stepped in. She said, "Oh no, sir, I remember you." She recalled David bringing Phelan's mom lunch at work. Suddenly, he wasn't looking so sure of himself.
Me and Fallon's mother, Veronica, we worked together. Mr. Dorsey, I have seen him come to the job to bring her mom lunch. Her mom would talk about her baby daddy being David.
Your Honor.
You don't remember any
Your
of this?
Honor, I've never had sex with this woman.
David claimed he didn't know Phelan's mom, but then it turned out he had a different last name, David Watkins. That was the name Phelan had heard her whole life. Either this was a wild coincidence or someone's memory was off.
Because I remember her mom talking about a David. That's your dad.
Oh wait,
But it
this
was
is David
Watkins.
Dorsey. You said David Watkins.
It was a David
My name used to be David Watkins. I was adopted, and he changed my name to Watkins, and then when I got grown, I changed my name back to my dad's name.
So what are you thinking? You thinking this woman just made this up?
Your Honor, I don't know this woman.
David's daughter, Melody, walked in and was like, "Dad, stop playing." She hugged Phelan and said, "That's my sister." If David wouldn't claim Phelan, Melody was going to do it for him.
I love you too. That's my sister. You know, I don't mean to disrespect my dad, but my dad was a Rolling Stone, okay? So he was the man, and like, he was very known on the North Side for being David Watkins, you know, the Slayer.
Melody revealed that people had always said Phelan looked just like her. She even saw Phelan's picture and thought, "That's literally me." Meanwhile, David was still like, "I don't know, I don't remember. Sir, do you need glasses?"
There's this girl that looks like you. She looks so much like you. Can you please just get in contact with this girl, please? Because you look so much like her. Went onto Facebook, you know, and I looked up her name. When I seen her face, I was like, if that's not me, maybe about a good 50 pounds ago, I mean.
Even David started questioning himself. He admitted Phelan looked like him and his daughter, but stuck to his "I don't remember" story. No worries, the DNA test was about to settle this.
I feel sorry for her.
Is there any part of you that says, if she is my daughter, I've missed out on 30 years of this woman's life, this young woman, this beautiful, smart young woman, I've missed out on her life?
Yeah, I'm torn that way too, though. I feel one kind of way, but then I feel bad if I missed out on her life, if I am her father.
Judge Lake opened the envelope and the room went silent. The result?
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Dorsey, you are not the father.
This case is already a mess before it even starts. Miss Lockridge is 100% sure Mr. Tidwell is the father of her 10-month-old son, King, so she dragged him to court to prove it. Meanwhile, Mr. Tidwell looks lost, claiming they weren't in a real relationship and saying someone else must be the dad. Buckle up, this is just the beginning.
Ms. Lockridge, you've dragged the defendant, Mr. Tidwell, to court because he has refused to acknowledge your 10-month-old son, King. You are 100% sure he's the father and claim today's results will prove your case. You say you were never were in a serious relationship with Ms. Lockridge and you were stunned when she told you she was pregnant.
Dispute. If confusion was a sport, these two would be gold medalists. Miss Lockridge says Mr. Tidwell has been a total ghost. No diapers, no clothes, no visits. She's taken long trips just for him to see the baby, and he still barely tries. Mr. Tidwell swears they were just hooking up and calls her obsessed. Oh, buddy, you have no idea what's coming.
Your Honor, Mr. Tidwell does not have a relationship with my son. The only time he's actually seen my son is when I've made it a convenience for him and brought him to him. That means traveling 4 hours on bus. He hasn't helped with diapers. He barely helped with any clothes, and it hurt. It's frustrating. He named my son King, and how am I supposed to raise a king, and he's not there?
You named him King, Mr. Tidwell?
Yes, Your Honor.
Reveal Imagine a sticky note, but instead of a reminder, it's an ultrasound photo. Miss Lockridge says she left a note and picture on his bed because his brother was there. Mr. Tidwell claims he was blindsided and only found out later through a text. That's one way to break the news, but wait until they discuss conception.
She came over to my house. We hung out. The next day, I see a piece of paper on my bed. I grab it. I looked at it. It was a note with an ultrasound in it. I'm not sure the exact words of the note, but it said that she didn't know how to tell me this, and she's sorry she had to tell me like that. So I called her. She didn't answer the phone. She ended up leaving me a text message saying that she was sorry and that she didn't know how to tell me that she was pregnant.
This pregnancy talk is next level awkward. Miss Lockridge says she mentioned having her period a week before, but Mr. Tidwell told her to shut up and carried on. Yes, that's a direct quote. The courtroom's collective jaw dropped. Mr. Tidwell calls it a total lie, shaking his head like he just heard the wildest thing ever.
When we conceived my child, I told him I just had my period a week ago.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
He said, shut up, and we kept going at it.
Oh,
That's
wow.
a lie, Your Honor.
You thought that he wanted or didn't mind if he got you pregnant.
I mean, he just got another girl pregnant 4 months prior, and I asked him, what you gonna do about it? He said, if it's mine, then I'm gonna take care of it. So next time I come over, heck yeah, I'm excited.
This is the part where the audience starts shaking their heads. Miss Lockridge kept him updated on doctor's appointments and even sent baby heartbeat recordings. He still didn't show up. She went through 36 hours of labor alone, and a nurse had to get special permission to stay with her. And just when you think he looks bad, it gets worse.
He didn't care about, I texted him when I was every doctor's appointment. I even sent him voice recordings of the heartbeat, all that. Like, when I had my son, I was in labor for 36 hours completely by myself, to the point where the nurse that was with me, she had to call the doctor and ask the doctor if she could stay with me because I was by myself.
This is like a game of telephone gone wrong. Mr. Tidwell's mom says Miss Lockridge ditched the baby on them for 2 weeks. Miss Lockridge says she asked them to watch him while she worked. Mr. Tidwell swears she disappeared and later returned with a mystery man. The drama just keeps piling up.
I don't understand how a mother could actually leave her child with that she doesn't really even know very well for 2 weeks.
It wasn't
and
2
get
weeks.
on the
It was
plane
Thursday
and
to
go
Tuesday
to Nevada saying she had a modeling job, just all of a sudden just jumps up and leaves this baby with us. We took care of the baby at that time.
I call her. I'm like, when are you coming back? Like, I have stuff to do too. I have, you know what I mean? All of a sudden, boom, she was there.
This debate is like an episode of CSI Baby Edition. Miss Lockridge presents baby photos as evidence, swearing King looks exactly like Mr. Tidwell's family. She even calls him an Ethiopian baby. Mr. Tidwell's mom isn't convinced, but all this arguing won't matter once the DNA results come in.
So here's the first picture. That is my son, King. And here is the second picture. That is Mr. Tidwell. The thing that catches me up is he looks like his side of the family.
He looks like an Ethiopian baby.
Really?
Yes, he does to me.
That's King.
And the next photo is Mr. Tidwell as a baby.
Look at the earmarks, the ear tags. There's nobody else.
Do you see a resemblance?
No.
If you placed a bet, you might want a refund.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Tidwell, you are not his father.
This episode is wild from the start, and the drama is real. Miss Salvo is sure Mr. Gonzalez is the dad and says she was only with him. But he's like, nah, she was with my best friend too.
You carried on a sexual relationship with the defendant, Mr. Gonzalez. Today you say you desperately want to prove Mr. Gonzalez is her biological father because it will break your heart if she has to grow up without a dad.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now they can't even agree on how many times they hooked up. She says once while drunk, but he says at least 6 times while engaged. Oh, and he got caught naked in her mom's kitchen, and she just said, wow.
I started off with her mom, so we will go over, we'll drink, started kissing, we started touching on each other, we went to the room. I was thirsty.
Did you use protection?
No, ma'am. I was naked, her mom saw me, her mom was like, wow. Mom didn't get mad at me or nothing.
She admits she had a boyfriend at the time and thought he was the dad, but when she saw Amaya, she thought, nope, this baby looks Hispanic. But let's be real, a dimple isn't a paternity test.
When I looked at her, I just knew it wasn't his, my ex-boyfriend.
And not black?
She has too much of him. She looks way too much. The dimple, she has one dimple just like he does.
Surprise, her boyfriend already took a DNA test, and he's not the dad either. Mr. Gonzalez is now convinced her best friend is the real father. Just when you think it's settling down, some scandalous pictures pop up.
Did you test your ex at all?
I did test him.
Oh, you did? Yeah. Okay, and what happened?
He's not the father.
Well, that's what your evidence is, Miss Salvo. Okay, so you had your ex tested.
Mr. Gonzalez claims his best friend had naked pictures of Miss Salvo. He swears she was with more guys, but she denies everything. Either way, things are getting heated real fast.
He tells me, I'm sorry, Julio, but I gotta show you something. I'm like, what you mean you gotta show me something? He showed me naked pictures of Ashley like this.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
He thinks she was messing around with tons of guys. One guy at a party was mad at him because he thought he was the dad. But now, it's time to talk about who's actually been taking care of this baby.
One night, we're all hanging out next to my mama's house, partying, having fun. This Mexican guy, I asked, Ashley, why that guy so mad at me? Why he looked like he wanted to fight me? Oh, because he wanted to be the baby daddy, but I told him, you're the baby daddy.
Mr. Gonzalez swears he bought diapers and a crib. Miss Salvo claps back, saying he only bought 2 toothbrushes. Her fiance says she's been paying for everything, and she's about to take the mic.
Baby carrier, everything.
What? A crate? A crib?
A crib?
That's a bold-faced lie. First off, he has not came out of his pocket not one single time. Oh, he bought 2 itty-bitty toothbrushes and some toothpaste for my daughter.
Her fiance, Miss Millender, says she's Amaya's real parent. She says, I feel like the daddy, but I don't even got the equipment. Now, it's time for the big reveal.
Miss Salvo says you've been there to help her with the child.
I've been there since day one, since Amaya came out. But I don't even have no equipment to be the daddy. But I am the daddy. He don't even must do nothing. I buy the diapers, I buy the wipes.
The DNA test results are in.
Mr. Gonzalez, it has been determined by this court that you are not the father.
This was one of the saddest things ever. Mrs. Watts tells the court how both of her sons were ambushed and eliminated. Just when you think things can't get worse, there's a whole other problem.
You are here on behalf of your deceased son, Alex, who was tragically murdered just a few months ago. I'm very sorry for your loss. You stand here on his behalf because you doubt he fathered the defendant's 20-month-old son, Caden, and you have asked for a DNA test to determine the truth.
Losing her sons was bad enough. Now she has to wonder if Caden is really her grandson. She explains that Alex never fully claimed the baby, which makes her suspicious. Now she needs a DNA test to get the truth.
I was told that my son Alex had been taken to the hospital in critical condition. When he had passed. He had died on arrival.
I am so very sorry. This beautiful little boy, Caden, is in fact your grandchild.
Yes.
Ms. Cheryl is 100% sure Alex is the dad. She even shows a cute video of Alex and Caden together. But then, the court digs into her past statements, and things start looking sketchy.
The relationship was like a father and son bond relationship. They were like 2 peas in a pod. Alex.
You mad at me now? You wanna annoy me? I don't care.
Mrs. Watts brings out a text where Ms. Cheryl admits she wasn't sure who the dad was. The courtroom reacts like they just saw a plot twist in a movie. And trust me, it only gets messier from here.
Alex is, and she said that she didn't know she needed a DNA test. She sent it to me in a text message.
Do you have that text message?
I do.
And Miss Cheryl responds, I don't really know, I don't believe so, but at this moment, I don't know, I have to get a blood test.
Caden's birth certificate doesn't even have Alex's name on it. On top of that, he doesn't even have Alex's last name. The judge and audience are side-eyeing Ms. Cheryl hard right now.
On the birth certificate, there is no father's name listed. Caden's last name is not your last name.
When the time came for me and Alex to get a blood test, I told him we can go down to the court, pay, and we can get his last name changed, no problem.
Alex's stepdad steps up and says Alex never mentioned Caden. He points out that Alex took a DNA test for his first daughter, but never did for Caden. The doubt just keeps growing.
If somebody got a child, they gonna say, well, this is my baby. Here, mama, look at my baby.
He never mentioned I have a baby on the way.
No, I just started seeing pictures like this.
Saying that this is my child?
Yes.
But Alex also got a blood test with his daughter also. They did get a blood test with her too.
Boom, the results are in.
The percentage of relatedness between Ms. Lita Watts and Caden is 0.006%. You are not related.
This case was wild from the start. Mr. Jenkins says he found his long-lost daughter, but Ms. Bond is like, who is this man? The whole courtroom is already confused, and it only gets crazier.
Mr. Jenkins, you reached out to the court to open a case. You believe that you have a long-lost daughter and hope to one day find her to prove you are her father. So we've located the woman you believe is your daughter, and she's here in court today.
Imagine some random guy showing up saying he's your dad. Yep, that's Ms. Bond's life today. She shows her birth certificate like a receipt, proving his name isn't on there. Jenkins, however, isn't backing down that easily.
So this is your birth certificate?
Yes.
Under father's legal name, nothing is recorded.
Yes, Your Honor.
But you were raised by a man that you believe, you were told was your biological father.
Yes, he died in a car accident in 1999 with my mother, and I believe that that was my father.
So, Ms. Bond, ultimately, you come to court today completely in the dark.
Yes.
Jenkins pulls out an old ultrasound pic like it's a VIP pass to fatherhood land. He says he went to doctor visits and saved the photo for 24 years. Ms. Bond looks at him like he just tried to sell her a time machine.
It's an ultrasound picture that I used to go to the hospital with her.
You did. So when you found out she was pregnant,
I was excited. I said, I got my first child. I got a girl.
So this is an ultrasound picture of Ms. Bond.
Yes.
That you've saved all these years.
Over 24 years, I've been saving that picture right there.
Ms. Bond shares that she's been struggling and feels completely alone. Her story is heartbreaking, and the whole room gets quiet. Jenkins sees her pain, but she still isn't sure about him.
I felt alone. You know, I didn't have anyone to talk to. I didn't have anyone. I lost my mother and my father, and I didn't have anybody. I'm still struggling. I'm homeless. I'm trying to get my children, and I have no one on my side, and I just feel so alone. I feel like a part of me is really missing.
How many children do you have?
I have 2 sons.
There, Jenkins goes full movie dad mode and swears he's here now. He promises to love and support her, but she's still like, we'll see. The courtroom feels like a dramatic soap opera at this point.
Excuse me, Your Honor, she got me. You know, you don't have to worry about that. If I'm a man, I'm gonna step up and do what I gotta do. My job is to protect you and to love you, to show you how a man's supposed to treat you, you know.
I missed that growing up. I didn't have a father figure to tell me, you know, right from wrong. Today, I made a lot of wrong decisions because I didn't have anyone there.
Jenkins says he's been searching everywhere. Social media, phone numbers, knocking on doors. Ms. Bond is like, sir, how did you have my number and still not find me? Honestly, she's got a good point.
I used to go over one of your family members' house. I used to come over there every Christmas. I used to go there. Kept me out on the porch. Played crazy on me. Played like she didn't know who I was. I knocked on doors. I'd like to submit one more thing to the court.
I have a Facebook page. If you went for social media, you could have found me.
I did everything I could do. I've been looking for you over 24 years. That's one of your numbers that I have.
Jenkins says he lost touch again after her mom died, and the search restarted. Ms. Bond basically tells him, that's sad and all, but you could have tried harder. She's not wrong, and the tension is real.
I talked to her on the phone, and she said, in the next week or so, I'll let you see Andrea. I said, how she's doing? She's doing pretty good. A week later, I called her back at that number. Heard some bad news that she was in a bad car accident. Here we go again. Now it's starting all over again.
She got killed in the car accident. You could have came to the funeral. Still don't feel like you're my father. I'm sorry.
Judge Lake explains that since Jenkins isn't on the birth certificate, he had no legal rights to see her. So even if he wanted to, he couldn't just pop up like, surprise, I'm your dad. Now, it's time for the DNA test.
When you submitted your birth certificate to the court and under father, there was no name listed, because he was not listed, he doesn't have any rights to see you or to stake any claim to visit you, anything.
The room holds its breath as Judge Lake opens the envelope.
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Jenkins, you are her father.
I met her walking around my apartment complex. She was with some mutual friends, and I thought she was very attractive, and I talked to her. We exchanged numbers. We had sexual contact later on that night.
Same night you saw her walking around the parking lot?
Yes, ma'am.
So was this sex protected?
No, ma'am, it wasn't.
He had sex with his cousin, and I felt very vulnerable about it.
Yes, I did, but that was before her. She already knew about that.
You know, I received the inbox telling me she said that she had sex with my little black car and they had a baby. And I felt very astounded about it.
She told you before that when you were sitting in the car with your friend, when y'all left from the Riverwalk.
No, that's not true, and you got her pregnant.
Yes, it is. It's true, Your Honor.
This case was already a disaster before it even started. Jeremy Boston swears he isn't the dad, but Teresa Murphy is tired of his nonsense and wants a DNA test. The judge catches Jeremy Jeremy in a lie within seconds, and things go downhill fast.
Mr. Boston, you have dragged the defendant into court today because you say you have undeniable proof that there is no way possible that you are the biological father of the defendant's 10-month-old son, Tristan.
Jeremy tries to convince everyone they were never in a relationship, but Teresa isn't buying it. He claims he slept on the floor, while she says he was in her bed every night. The more Jeremy talks, the worse his story gets.
So how long were you in this sexual relationship?
4 months.
I wasn't even in her house for 4 months.
He's lying.
Big
He's lying.
over there every other night.
Like, he was at my house every night, spending the night sleeping in the same bed.
Alone, kicking it with them. You know, having beverages. Stayed over time, and my mom would sleep, so I couldn't get in her house. So yes, I did spend a night over there.
It was an everyday thing.
I slept on her float in her living room.
No, lying. You slept in my bed.
Jeremy acts like he found out about the baby from a news report. Teresa says he was happy and rubbing her belly, but Jeremy says he barely knew her name. The judge gives him the side-eye of the century when he admits to calling her Bookie the whole time.
He started coming over my house, spending the night. We had sexual encounters plenty of times, on several occasions, in my bedroom. When I first found out I was pregnant, he was happy. He came over to my house. He's like, oh, he rubbed my belly and everything. He was smiling and everything.
She was pregnant. That family member came in the house and told me, well, you know somebody named Teresa? At the time, I didn't know her government name. Only thing I knew was
He's
Poop.
lying.
Jeremy swears he wasn't around when the baby was conceived. Teresa says that's a lie, and that he even came to visit the baby after birth. Jeremy admits he held the baby, but only to check for clues.
After I had the baby, Your Honor, he came to Chicago to see my baby. I moved back to Chicago with my mom. Actually, I have proof. He came to Chicago to see my son. He asked me to take a picture of him and his son and put it on Facebook, and that's what I did. Tristan and Mr. Boston.
Mr. Boston and Tristan.
Yeah.
Just when it couldn't get wilder, another man enters the mix. Turns out Teresa was also with Tyron Gregory, who straight up blocked her on Facebook when she told him she was pregnant. The audience gasps, but let's be real, this is normal for paternity court.
She texted me on Facebook and told me she was pregnant. I never talked to her again. Like, I blocked her, so he basically never.
You got a message on Facebook that she was potentially pregnant by you and you deleted her?
Blocked it.
He actually blocked me, Your Honor, because he had went back home to his girlfriend and he thought that I was gonna break up a happy home, which it wasn't nothing like that because I don't wanna break up no happy home. This is about my son.
Teresa's best friend, Quiana, jumps in to expose more lies. She says Jeremy was at Teresa's house all the time and was not sleeping on the floor. Jeremy tries to act surprised, but the judge looks like she's heard enough.
I was living with Teresa the whole time.
And he was sleeping on the floor.
He was sleeping in my bed.
Was Mr. Boston the only man coming over there within that 4-month period?
When she was seeing him, he was the only man. They broke up. They weren't talking for like 2 weeks. That's when she started messing with Mr. Gregory.
Teresa put Jeremy on child support, even though she wasn't sure he was the father. The judge is not happy and warns her that this could cause big problems. Teresa basically shrugs and admits she did it out of pettiness.
I put Mr. Boston on child support.
You did what? I ain't getting no
have
letter.
proof.
Why would you arbitrarily choose Mr. Boston and put him on child support?
At the time when I conceived, I didn't talk to neither one of them, but I had Mr. Boston information as far as his birthday, his social security number and everything.
Mr. Boston, you are not the father.
Buckle up, this drama is next level. Ms. Nesbitt sues Mr. Henderson for paternity, claiming he only buys diapers for their baby, Zian. He denies being the father, saying she was with the neighbor.
Ms. Nesbitt, you are suing to prove to Mr. Henderson that he is the father of your 7-month-old daughter, Zian. You say that when the results prove you right, you expect Mr. Henderson to step up. Mr. Henderson, you claim your case is simple. You say Ms. Nesbitt cheated on you with her neighbor during the window of conception, and he is Zian's biological father.
Things get weirder. Ms. Nesbitt says Mr. Henderson treats her other kid better than his own. He admits he doesn't want to care for another man's child, but he already is. Make it make sense.
Well, he buy her diapers, that's about it. He doesn't do anything for my child, but buy her diapers. He does more for my 2-year-old son that he knows that's not his, than his own daughter.
Because I feel that I shouldn't have to take care of another man's baby. I came into this baby's life and already knew he wasn't mine, but I had a possibility that she'd been mine, but she's not, so I felt kind of hurt.
Plot twist. Mr. Henderson secretly signed the birth certificate, then lied about a DNA test. Judge Lake calls him out. But wait, the real cheating scandal is about to drop.
So, Mr. Henderson, you did sign the birth certificate?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Nesbitt that said, don't sign it just yet because it may not be yours?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor, he even lied to his father and told him that he got a DNA at the hospital when he didn't.
Well, honestly, Your Honor, because I didn't want him all in my business.
Oh, Your Honor, that's a lie. He's not the birth certificate. He told me that he's not the birth certificate so he can have rights of the baby, so he can get custody of the baby.
Ms. Nesbitt admits she told Mr. Henderson the baby might not be his, out of anger. Yeah, that helps nothing. The tension is thick, but it's about to get worse.
She kept coming to me like, this not your baby, LaDon. Like one time
After Zion was born?
Yes, I came in the house one night drunk. I don't know if she was mad at me or not. She probably could have said it out of spite because I came in late.
True.
She get the argument, oh, she's not yours. That's why she's not your baby. She could be Mr.
Ms.
Brown's
Nesbitt,
baby.
did you say that?
Yes, Your Honor, I did it out of anger. I was really angry when I said it.
She said it several times, Your Honor.
Boom! She reveals Mr. Henderson slept with his own cousin. No wonder she had doubts. Judge Lake's reaction? Priceless. And trust me, it's about to get wilder.
He had sex with his cousin, and I felt very vulnerable about it.
Yes, I did, but that was before her. She already knew about that.
You know, I received the inbox telling me she said that she had sex with my little black car and they had a baby. And I felt very astounded about it.
She told you before that when you was sitting in the car with your friend, when y'all left from the Riverwalk.
No, that's not true, and you got her pregnant.
Yes, it is. It's true, Your Honor.
Enter Mr. Brown, the neighbor. Ms. Nesbitt hooked up with him right after a fight. 2 weeks later, she was pregnant. The courtroom loses it. And Mr. Brown, he has his own version of events.
Well, I doubted because we was having unprotected sex for a year straight, and all of a sudden I had sex one time with Mr. Brown, and I ended up getting pregnant 2 weeks later.
Mr. Brown is
the neighbor.
Your neighbor?
Yes. Well, me and Mr. Henderson, we got into an argument, and it led in my apartment to him coming in, giving me a massage, and led off to me.
Mr. Brown admits he flirted with Ms. Nesbitt, and they hooked up on her birthday. He plays it down, but it's a mess. Then, his story takes a weird turn.
I first met her, she had moved to my apartment, been a couple doors down. I used to always flirt with her, to blink an eye at her, you know what I'm saying? Because she was a cute girl, you know?
It was just like birthday sex, that was about it.
It wasn't more that she used to always hit me up and text me and all that stuff. I used to text her different names, like
it was
this
just
Tracy,
one time.
Nancy.
Your Honor, she's telling me that it's been going on longer than that. It was more than one.
It was just birthday sex.
Mr. Brown shows a picture, claiming the baby looks nothing like him. He even compares features like a detective. But the drama isn't over yet. These men have been beefing on Facebook.
This is a picture of
me on the right and her on the left, yeah. She looked nothing like me at all. Ear, look at her cheeks, nothing, lips, nose, nothing like me. One day she had told me she didn't want to take them. First she used to always ask me, like, do you mind taking the test? I'm like, yeah. Then one day she,
no,
I guess she didn't want to hurt his feelings.
Your Honor, he's the one that called me.
So wait, she asked you to take a test. Do you mind taking a paternity test?
Yeah, and I used to always tell her what I tell her.
Yes, they fought about this baby on Facebook. Mr. Henderson tagged Mr. Brown, saying, come get your daughter. Mr. Brown blocked him twice, and somehow it gets pettier.
Him hit me up on Facebook. See, I had to block him on Facebook.
I don't know, bro. I'm a real man, bro.
You having a Facebook feud?
Oh, it wasn't no Facebook feud. I just told him, like, bro, come get your child. You feel me? This is not my child. She's telling me that this child is not mine. I'm not about to sit there. I'm a real man. I'm not gonna have her calling me daddy or nothing. Like, hold on, I'm not your father.
I just don't want my
That's
daughter
your
to
father.
be fatherless, and I just want to find out today.
Ms. Nesbitt accuses Mr. Henderson of treating her other kid better than his own child. Henderson claps back, saying, that's different, because I got feelings. Judge Lake is trying so hard not to roll her eyes, but the biggest moment is coming, and it's time for the truth to finally come out.
She told me several times that it wasn't my baby.
He takes care of my baby that he know that's not his, which is my son. He takes care of him.
Yes, but you didn't cheat on me and have him, though.
He only bought his daughter only one.
I got feelings too.
What he's saying is there's a level of resentment that he feels as it relates to baby Zion. Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And now, the moment of truth.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Brown, you are not her father.
Oh!
Okay, sit down, Mr. Brown.
Right away, things go from normal to what in the world is happening real fast. Ms. Ferguson brings her mom to court because she just found out the dad who raised her might not be her real dad. And just like that, we're off to the races with secrets, drama, and a whole lot of awkwardness.
You've brought your mother to court today because you were recently shocked to learn that Ken Ferguson, who raised you your entire life, may not be your biological father. You have petitioned the court for a paternity test on Mr. Ferguson, whom we'll hear from in a moment. You acknowledge that you finally confessed to your daughter that you slept with more than one man at the time of her conception.
If you thought this was going to be a calm chat, think again. This is a full-on family roast session. Ms. Ferguson calls out her mom for ignoring her kids and sneaking around with other men, while her mom acts like she has no clue what's happening. It's like watching someone pretend they didn't eat the last cookie while crumbs are all over their face.
My mom goes through crazy moments and acts like her family never is there for her. The only ones that just want her attention and to talk to her and be there for her. So she was treating us like crap. For her, she wouldn't talk to us. She would only talk to her guy friends and her other friends. Not even the husband, there for her to just lean on when she actually didn't have anyone else around her.
And just like that, Mom storms out because she can't handle the heat. Ms. Ferguson drops a truth bomb. Watching her mom cheat so much made her think cheating was normal. If you thought this was dramatic, just wait, because Ken is about to spill some tea too.
See, this is what you do. You always walk away. You never can talk to me.
Your stepfather.
Yeah.
And you finally just said to him.
Yes, I let it all out. Everything I was keeping secrets from him. Yes, I was supposed to be her little secret keeper. Supposed to be the only one to know that she was sleeping around. And I couldn't handle it anymore because I love him like I love him.
Ken steps up and says, "Oh yeah, I had doubts." And boy, does he have a reason. Turns out Ms. Munsell was with 4 dudes in one night before they even got together. Ken still married her and raised Ms. Ferguson, but now he's back in court, reliving the mess all over again.
Miss Ferguson, this young woman was your daughter.
Yeah, I believe she was my daughter.
Why do you have the doubt?
When I first met her at a party, I found out after this, because that's when we met. She slept with 4 guys that night.
You know this for a fact or you heard?
No, it's a fact. Then we were dating, moved in with each other. Within like 2 weeks, my sister started calling me saying, "Hey, there's down at the house."
Ms. Ferguson, trying to be the bigger person, asks her mom to just say sorry. Instead, her mom gives the worst apology ever. Something like, "I did my best," but without any real feeling. Ms. Ferguson is not buying it, and honestly, neither is anyone watching.
I just wish one day she'll just sit down and admit to my face what she did was wrong and I shouldn't have seen it and I shouldn't have this feeling.
Are you willing to give your mother a chance to apologize today? Here today, she's appeared to be extremely emotional.
It's because she's never admitted.
And now, the moment of truth.
When it comes to Alicia Ferguson, Mr. Ferguson, you are her father.
This was totally wild. Imagine thinking you know your dad, and then boom, surprise. Ms. Fuller's mom told her the man on her birth certificate wasn't her real father. Instead, she said her dad might be a famous musician, and now Ms. Fuller needs answers.
Miss Fuller, you say that on your mother's deathbed, she confessed your dad was not the man listed on your birth certificate. You claim she then told you that your biological father was actually a well-known singer who was also the love of her life. Now, while you have doubts whether he is actually your biological father, you confess he's your last hope.
This childhood drama is next level. At 10 years old, her dad told her he wasn't actually her dad. Then, on her 13th birthday, her mom confirmed it, but gave no real answers. She spent her whole life wondering where she came from, and now she's finally ready to find out.
At the age of 10, my mother and father that I've known to be my father had a fight, and on his way out, he told me, "And by the way, I'm not your father, but I know he's not." And he's told me, he said, "I'm not your father." Something that was just really devastating to me in my life. And at the age of 13, on my 13th birthday, my mother told me that he wasn't my real father and that my father was dead, actually.
This part was straight up crazy. Her mom's final words included the name Cornelius, and Ms. Fuller had no idea who that was. She searched online, found a record in her mom's things, and saw it was written by a saxophone player. Even weirder, the song was named after her mom.
So my mom, on her deathbed, she died about a year ago, less than a year. She told me that really my father is possibly Cornelius, and I said, "Cornelius?" I didn't know who that was, and she said, that's who I think your father is. So I went online after she passed. I went online to find out who he is, that he was a saxophone player, he was a musician.
This moment was intense. After tracking him down on Facebook, Ms. Fuller finally meets Cornelius in person. First thing she asks, "Can I hug you?" They hug, the audience claps, and now it's time to find out if he remembers Lorraine.
I was able to find him on Facebook, and I befriended him, and I asked, we talked, a little here and there.
But you've never met him face to face?
This dude is just like, "Oh yeah, I knew Lorraine." He says they met at a nightclub and fell in love, but their relationship was complicated. Then one day, she disappeared.
Do you remember her mother, Lorraine?
Yes, I was singing in a band at the time. That's where I met her. When she came down to the club, I would take her home. And she lived in the other part of town. I stayed in the ghetto. But and she was white.
This was unexpected. Years later, Cornelius tracked Lorraine down, knocked on her door, and they reconnected. And by reconnected, I mean they got real close with no protection. Now Ms. Fuller is wondering if that night led to her birth.
That she was in San Bernardino. So me and my brother to the place I thought she was at, and I knocked on the door, and she came to the door.
Was she single or was she married?
Well, she was married.
Was her husband home?
No.
So what happened?
We just fell in love again.
Fell in love again.
Yeah.
This could have been awkward, but nope. Cornelius's wife Melinda is all in and already considers Ms. Fuller family. She gets emotional and says she loves her no matter what. The DNA results haven't even come in yet, but she's already attached.
I already got attached to Miss Fuller already, Yeah, I would like it to turn out for them, father and daughter.
Yes.
This part was heartbreaking. Ms. Fuller explains how she's always felt lost and unwanted. She never questioned her mom because she just wanted to be a good girl. But now, standing here in court, she realizes just how badly she needs the truth.
I didn't know where I fit in. I just knew I was a good girl. I wanted to just please my mom, to please everybody around me. Never questioned anything. I never wanted to be in a place of a lonely state. I feel lonely now.
All right, here it is, the moment of truth.
Mr. Neal, you are not Miss Fuller's father.
Oh.
This case is already a mess, and we haven't even started. Judge Lake introduces Sousis versus Payne, where Ms. Sousis says Mr. Payne's mom made him doubt their baby girl. She wants his name on the birth certificate, but he's not signing anything without proof.
Ms. Sousis, you have dragged the defendant into court today because you say it's his mother's fault he's denying your 10-month-old daughter, Aleliana. You claim when the DNA results prove he is the father, you want the defendant's name added to her birth certificate.
The trust issues here are next level. Mr. Payne says Ms. Sousis is sneaky because she went to the movies with another guy and texted her ex. She fires back, saying he did the same thing. So what's the problem?
The first day after we started talking, she went to the movies with some other guy, Facebook messages telling her
did something with another girl and you was just telling your ex you loved her, so what's the difference?
You lying in court.
I don't need to lie.
Ms. Sousis, you did contact your ex?
Yeah, I said I care for him. I never said I loved him. He told his ex he loved her, and I did go to the movies with a boy. What is that
for 9 hours? What movie is 9 hours?
Mr. Payne was happy at first, then switched up real fast. He says the pregnancy happened too fast after they got back together, making him suspicious. His mom agrees and says, something ain't right here.
What happened when you told him you were pregnant?
He was happy for a minute. I don't know, I guess there we go with the DNA test stuff, so.
I was happy and shocked at the same time, because I felt like it happened fast, because we had just got back together.
After you got back together,
2 weeks.
It seemed like right away, because the first time she was pregnant twice. The first time she got pregnant, I knew without a doubt it was his because she didn't go anywhere. I couldn't get rid of her.
Ms. Sousis is fed up with raising her daughter alone. Mr. Payne claims she chose to do it by herself, but she says he was just never there. The judge can barely get a word in because they won't stop arguing.
I've been doing this for so long by myself. It's like, I'm just fed up.
She didn't have to be alone. She chose to.
Yup,
that was on her.
who was there for me? Because I've been independent for so long, for so many years by myself. I was used to it, so it was like.
Did you want him to be there and help you?
Yes, I did.
I'm confused as to why you didn't allow him to help you.
We just argued too much around my daughter, and I don't want that all around her, so.
Ms. Sousis says Mr. Payne comes and goes like a lost puppy. He swears he tried to be there, but she made it difficult. Then they start fighting over a stroller color, and the judge looks so done.
And so for the past 10 months, you've been raising her on your own?
Not on my own. Like, yeah, he comes in and, like I said, he comes in and out. I don't like that. If you're gonna stay out, stay out. If you're gonna come in. Like, if she knows you're dad, stay in. Like,
if you need help and you want me to be there and you tell me no, what more can I do?
All right, but when I ask you
to help, how's it a problem? When you just asked,
it's a problem.
What did I do?
Right?
When you just asked, what did I do?
The gossip in this case is wild. Mr. Payne says random people told his mom that Ms. Sousis was moving around too much. She claps back, saying people love to talk, but it's all lies.
There was another situation, I think I told you too, Lacey. A lady, her daughter goes to school pretty much with Lacey, and she was saying, oh, she talks to this guy and this girl and this guy. Like, just everybody. No one
Everybody gonna say anything they
right,
want.
but no one has anything good to say. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I know how that goes, but you understand that's my doubt.
It's always something bad in me. I'm a hoe. I'm this. I'm that, but does anybody really know me? But when I confront people, nobody got nothing to say.
Ms. Sousis is mad that Mr. Payne didn't sign the birth certificate. He says he had doubts, and his mom told him to wait. She thinks that was just an excuse to avoid responsibility.
You say that he's not on Aleliana's birth certificate.
Yes, that's another reason why I didn't let him take her as much.
Don't sign it if you have any doubts. Get the DNA test first.
It's sad that it took 10 months.
It's sad, yes.
For it to happen, but at least it can happen today. And if it is my child, I'm gonna step up all the way.
Good.
All the way. 100%. You don't gotta say good, because I know what I'm gonna do.
The tension in the room is crazy. Judge Lake reads the results, and boom.
It has been determined by Mr. Payne. You are the father.
Thank you.
I'm happy. Now I'm happy.
This courtroom started wild. Mr. Black walked in straight up saying, "That ain't my kid." He wants the baby's last name changed if the DNA test proves he's not the father. Ms. Rockmore says he's the dad 100% and is disgusted by his denial.
You say you're here today to finally prove that you are not the biological father of 4-month-old Javion Black. You say when the results reveal you are not the father, you no longer want the child to have your last name. You say you are 100% sure Mr. Black is your son's biological father, and you are completely disgusted by his rejection of your innocent child.
These two met, talked for a few hours, and next thing you know, no protection, no hesitation. Mr. Black says she was cute, they exchanged numbers, and boom, same night hookup. Now they're in court, trying to figure out if that one night made a whole human.
I met her walking around my apartment complex. She was with some mutual friends, and I thought she was very attractive, and I talked to her. We exchanged numbers. We got to know each other a little better on that evening, and then we had sexual contact later on that night.
Same night you saw her walking
Yes,
around
ma'am.
the parking lot?
Yes, ma'am.
So was this sex protected?
No, ma'am, it wasn't.
Mr. Black swears the baby isn't his because he saw her ex take her to the store. Judge Lake looks at him like, "Sir, what?" Turns out, buying groceries does not equal making babies.
I'm doubtful because at the time I was there and I was talking to her, that period of time, I seen her ex involved with her.
You saw her with her ex?
Yes, ma'am. He walked past me while I was at her house talking to her, and he went and took her to the store.
How'd you know it was her ex?
I knew it was her ex because she told me.
Ms. Rockmore told him she was pregnant, and his first reaction was, "I don't believe you." She had to send a sonogram just to prove it was real. Instead of stepping up, he pulled out a homemade timeline like he was solving a crime.
The first person that I told was my mom, and that's because she went to the doctor with me. As soon as I left the doctor, I called Mr. Black to let him know that I was pregnant. And at the time, he didn't believe me until I showed him a sonogram picture. Then that's when he believed me.
I was doubtful. It was a month later. I got a calendar showing the time periods of where we had our intercourse in the time period. She showed me she was pregnant. She could have had sex with anybody from August to September.
He literally made a calendar to prove he couldn't be the dad. Like, that's how science works. Judge Lake counts the months and says, "Sir, these numbers add up perfectly." The audience loses it when he suggests she had another guy waiting right after him.
I'm trying to prove that he is not my child. It helps me in that way of showing you the time frame that we did have sex. She was on her period from the 21st to the 28th, and we had sex on the 30th one time. And she came to me on the 26th saying that she was pregnant. Between July and August and September 26th, she could have had sex with anybody.
Claiming that the window of conception would have been between July 30th.
Yes, ma'am.
And then, plot twist, Mr. Black's own mother switches sides. She stands with Ms. Rockmore and says, "That's my grandson." The audience loves it, and Mr. Black looks like he just got grounded on TV.
You're Ms. Black.
Yes, ma'am.
And you are?
I'm his mother.
You are Mr. Black, the plaintiff's mother.
Yes, ma'am. I'm his mom, and I am very disappointed and I'm outraged that he would go this far to bring this young lady to court to prove that's his son.
The moment of truth, Judge Lake opens the envelope. Boom.
It has been determined, Mr. Black, you are the father. Definitively know which one of these men is her biological father.
I don't know.
It's okay, because when you tell her, they can't hold you hostage anymore. You're in your own prison, lying and telling this person one thing and this person one thing, and your family members, you just keep calling them messy, and they looking at you like you messy, and everything's a mess.
I received a phone call. I don't remember the guy's name. He said he was the father. Another man that she told him that they were going to have a happy family together and move away.
That's really? Who is this person?
I told you he was a stalker. He just pops up anytime I was moving.
Your Honor.
Oh, that's the same guy from the refrigerator
Yes,
scene?
ma'am. Yes.
This case is already ridiculous, and it just started. Mr. Boston swears up and down he's not Tristan's dad, while Ms. Murphy says she's done with his lies. Judge Lake asks for proof, and Mr. Boston confidently claims he never even slept with Ms. Murphy. until 2 seconds later, when he admits he did but used protection.
Mr. Boston, you have dragged the defendant into court today because you say you have undeniable proof that there is no way possible that you are the biological father of the defendant's 10-month-old son, Tristan.
This argument is straight out of a soap opera. Ms. Murphy insists they were together, while Mr. Boston acts like she made the whole thing up. She says he basically lived at her house, while he claims he was just passing through. Ms. Murphy claps back saying, "Boy, stop. You were in my bed."
Your Honor, you have to have sex to make a baby. And I don't believe in, I don't remember even doing that well.
Lies. You was at my house all the time, every day, every night, in my bed. Stop it.
I mean, I'm not denying it like that, but I'm just saying.
So what are you saying?
He's lying, Your Honor, see?
If things weren't already messy, Mr. Boston just made them worse. He says he didn't even know Ms. Murphy's real name. She says he was happy when she told him about the baby, rubbing her belly and smiling. But Mr. Boston claims he found out from some random person asking, "You know a girl named Teresa?" Turns out he only knew her as Bookie.
He started coming over my house, spending the night, and we had sexual encounters plenty of times, on several occasions, in my bedroom. I found out you was pregnant. I was like, yes, I am. I'm 2 months. He rubbed my belly and everything.
In the process of me being over a family member's house. That family member came in the house and told me, well, you know somebody named Teresa? At the time, I didn't know her government name. Only thing I knew was
He's lying.
Mr. Boston switches up his story again, now saying there was a time gap that makes him doubt the baby is his. Ms. Murphy isn't having it, saying he was there the whole time. Mr. Boston then admits he visited Tristan after he was born, but only to stare at him like a detective, trying to spot a resemblance.
When I found out I was pregnant, I didn't tell him. I was at home. He came to my house and knocked on my door. I heard you was pregnant. I'm like, yes, I'm 2 months. Putting his hands on my belly. Now, during the time that I was pregnant, he was coming over there, but he had stopped when I was like 6 months. He had stopped coming over my house.
Just when you think this case couldn't get crazier, boom, another guy enters the mix. Ms. Murphy admits she was with someone else after Mr. Boston, but he insists there were multiple others. The judge then reveals that Mr. Gregory has been located and brought in to testify. Mr. Gregory says he did have a thing with Ms. Murphy, but as soon as she told him she was pregnant, he ghosted her like a magician.
Have had a relationship with Ms. Murphy.
A sexual relationship. She texted me on Facebook and told me she was pregnant. I never talked to her again. I blocked her. So
He actually blocked me, Your Honor, because he had went back home to his girlfriend and he thought that I was gonna break up a happy home, which it wasn't nothing like that because I don't want to break up no happy home. This is about my son.
Ms. Murphy's best friend takes the stand and immediately makes things messier. She says Mr. Boston was always around, proving Ms. Murphy's point. But then she also says there was a short break in their relationship, and that's when Mr. Gregory showed up. So now it's officially a circus.
Who do you believe is Tristan's biological father?
Mr. Boston.
And why is that?
Well, I was living with Teresa the whole time.
So when he was saying he wasn't really coming over there that much.
Right, he was.
And he was sleeping on the floor.
He was sleeping in my bed.
Was Mr. Boston the only man coming over there within that 4-month period?
When she was saying him, he was the only man.
If you thought this case couldn't get any wilder, think again. The judge reads Mr. Gregory's results first, not the father. Then she reads Mr. Boston's results, not the father. The courtroom reacts like they just saw a shocking movie twist. Judge Lake asks the big question. Do you even know who the father is?
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Gregory, you are not his father. It has been determined by this court, Mr. Boston, you are not the father.
This whole thing was messy right from the start. Judge Lake introduces Sousis versus Payne, where Ms. Sousis wants Mr. Payne to take responsibility for their 10-month-old daughter, Aleliana. She says his mom put doubts in his head, and she wants his name on the birth certificate if the DNA test proves he's the dad.
Ms. Sousis, you have dragged the defendant into court today because you say it's his mother's fault he's denying your 10-month-old daughter, Aleliana. You claim when the DNA results prove he is the father, you want the defendant's name added to her birth certificate.
The drama kicked off fast with cheating accusations flying everywhere. Mr. Payne says Ms. Sousis went to the movies with another guy, but she claps back that he also talked to his ex and other girls. Basically, both of them were acting messy, and now nobody trusts anybody.
The first day after we started talking, she went to the movies with some other guy, Facebook messages telling her ex she loved him.
But the next day you did something with another girl and you was just telling your ex you loved her, so
No,
what's the difference?
You lying in court.
You did contact your ex?
Yeah, I said I cared for him. I never said I loved him. He told his ex he loved her, and I did go to the movies with a boy.
At first, Mr. Payne was excited about the baby, but then he started doing some sketchy math. Since they had just gotten back together 2 weeks before the pregnancy test, he suddenly wasn't so sure. His mom jumped in too, saying she had doubts about the whole situation from the start.
What happened when you told him you were pregnant?
He was happy for a minute. I don't know. I guess there we go with the DNA test stuff, so yeah.
How soon after you got back together did...
2 weeks.
It seemed like right away. The only reason why I questioned it, because the first time she was pregnant twice, I knew without a doubt it was his because she didn't go anywhere. I couldn't get rid of her.
This got even crazier when a random lady at the grocery store joined the drama. She told Mr. Payne's mom that Ms. Souses moves around, making the doubt even worse. Ms. Souses is fed up with strangers talking about her. But honestly, even the Walmart cashier probably has an opinion at this point.
There was a time when someone came up to me in the supermarket. A lady comes up to me and she goes, yeah, well, you're right to want a DNA test because she moves around. This lady, she knows. I came home and told him and he told her.
Everybody got something to say about
Right,
it,
but I don't know this lady. I'm like, how does she know about me wanting a DNA test? You understand what I'm saying? Second of all, like, who are you? I don't know the lady.
Mr. Payne was at the birth, but didn't sign the birth certificate, which made everything harder. Mrs. Souses says he disappeared after 2 months, but he swears she pushed him away. Meanwhile, his mom is like, we live in the same apartment complex. How do you disappear?
He was there. He didn't sign birth certificate. Obviously, we're here now. He was there for like 2 months and then he just disappeared.
No, I did not. She didn't want to be around me.
We live in the same complex, so it's kind of hard to disappear.
What's upsetting you the most?
I've been doing this for so long by myself. It's like, I'm just fed up.
Judge Lake sees how exhausted and mad Miss Souses is. She says she had to do everything alone, but Mr. Payne claims she wanted it that way. Just when things seem deep, they go back to arguing about nonsense again.
It says like, it took you guys 10 months just to do this. Like,
you kept her away though.
No, I did not. No, I did not.
Don't do that.
But that's
how did I keep her away?
Not even saying the whole story.
But how did I keep her away?
You said I didn't do nothing at all. Got it.
Disappeared.
Not even
you
knowing.
come in and out of life.
It's not making no sense.
All right,
let's get some order. Let's get some order.
Right.
Ms. Souses is mad because Mr. Payne didn't sign the birth certificate, making things way harder. His mom told him not to sign until a DNA test, which dragged everything out for 10 whole months. Now he says he's ready to be a dad, but will he actually follow through?
Aleliana's birth certificate.
Yes, that's another reason why I didn't let him take her as much.
I told him if you have any doubts, sign it. If you have any doubts, get the DNA test first, like y'all doing now.
And I had a doubt, and it's sad that it took 10 months.
It's sad, yes.
For it to happen, but at least it could happen today. And if
good.
All the way.
100%. You don't gotta say good, because I know what I'm gonna do.
The room got so tense you could hear a pin drop. The DNA results come in, and boom.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Payne, you are the father.
Thank you.
This case was messy from the jump, and it only got wilder. Mr. Jordan says he got tricked into signing a birth certificate for a kid that might not even be his. Ms. Heim says he's the dad, but she also admits she cheated. So this is already a disaster.
You claim the defendant tricked you into signing her daughter's birth certificate and being a daddy. But 2 years later, you were told that another man is her biological father. Because you want DNA proof you are not the father, so you can get your name removed from the birth certificate.
Mr. Jordan is fuming because he says Ms. Heim straight up lied to him. She told him another guy already took a DNA test, so he never questioned it. Turns out that was a whole lie. And what happens next is even crazier.
She tricked me into thinking that the other guy had done got a paternity test on Caitlyn. Because she told me, oh, he already got, that's why I know it's just you. She tricked me into thinking that family was something sacred.
And what was her motive?
I think her only motive was that she was able to get away with it, honestly. Because at the end of the day, I think that she had the advantage.
Mr. Jordan really loves this kid and talks about being there for everything. He was cutting umbilical cords, running for weird pregnancy cravings, and doing the whole dad thing. But his happy dad moment was about to get a rude awakening.
I love that little girl, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was there, I cut the umbilical cord, I passed out. I was there, you know what I'm saying? I sung happy birthday when she was born, you know what I'm saying? I watched the little nasty little afterbirth. Horrible, you know what I'm saying? But I was there.
So you were there for the whole birth and the nasty afterbirth.
Everything, you know what I'm saying? I was there for the weird pregnancy cravings. I was there to rub the feet.
A family fight dropped the biggest bombshell of all. Someone blurted out that Mr. Jordan wasn't the father, and then showed him pictures of another guy with his kid. And just like that, his whole world flipped upside down.
This is where it goes wrong. Her and the family member gets into like an altercation or whatnot, like an argument. So she said something about, the family member turned around and was like, well, why you ain't told Chris that he's not Caitlyn's dad?
What?
So I'm like, it's very funny, but you know, you can say whatever.
The receipts came out, and they were bad. Some dude named Santavius Knight was online calling Caitlyn his baby. Mr. Jordan was just sitting there like, wait, what?
The family member shows you pictures.
Yeah, And as you can see right here, Your Honor, like, I don't like to say people look alike, but I'm like, yo, it's a lot of resemblance here.
So this is another one posted up, and this is from
baby
Santavius Knight, and it reads, "Me and my baby Kate."
Santavius walked in like he already won. He swore Ms. Heim told him Caitlin was his, and that she promised to fix the birth certificate. If that wasn't messy enough, wait till you hear what Ms. Heim does next.
She told me that it was my baby. She said, I'm pregnant. I said, what you telling me for? She said, cause it's young. Telling me I love you when you get home. I let somebody else sign the birth certificate. I'm gonna fix it when you get home. Did it in the third. I'm like, okay, say no more.
She let somebody sign the birth certificate, but she's gonna fix it when you get home.
Yeah.
No. Judge Lake was done with the nonsense. She called out Ms. Heim for playing both guys and making a total mess, but the biggest twist was still to come.
Definitively know which one of these men is her biological father.
I don't know.
It's okay, because when you tell her, they can't hold you hostage anymore. You're in your own prison, and that's why you're just spinning and lying and telling this person one thing and this person one thing, and your family members, you just keep calling them messy, and they looking at you like you messy, and everything's a mess.
The whole room went silent as the results came in.
The biological father is Mr. Jordan.
This case is a wild ride from the start, so buckle up. Ms. Davies says her fiancé, Mr. Hunter, called off their wedding because of rumors and now denies their son Jaden. Mr. Hunter says he has every reason to doubt because of what he knows about her past.
Ms. Davies, you say that after being with Mr. Hunter for 5 years, he's now given into lies and rumors about your past, scrapped your wedding plans, and is now denying your son Jaden.
Canceling a wedding is one thing, but canceling it because you don't trust your fiancé, that's next level. Mr. Hunter says he's seen too much to go through with the wedding and won't believe Jaden is his until he knows for sure.
You called off the wedding plans, Mr. Hunter?
Yes, Your Honor, because things I've seen, I don't really trust the things she do. I've seen too much to keep going on with this, so I have to make sure that this child is mine.
Well, Your Honor, we met like 5.5 years ago through a mutual friend. I would say that we were happy when we first got together.
Ms. Davies really says, yeah, I talked to other guys, but only because he cheated first. Mr. Hunter says she started it, and suddenly, this case feels like a playground argument. The judge isn't impressed, and neither is anyone watching.
Because Devon was out with other females.
That's not true. I caught her first, so that's when I started. I caught her with her phone messages first, and then I started going out, stepping out.
After I seen the text messages, the females calling my phone, then I decided that, okay, two can play that game, and I decided to go out and talk to someone else.
And now for the bombshell. Ms. Davies admits she had a fling while with Mr. Hunter. Not only that, but she also wasn't always using protection. Mr. Hunter is now looking at her like he just realized his whole life might be a lie.
Well, once I briefly had a relationship with the guy. We were sexually together a few times.
Did you use
protection?
protection?
Watch it with me.
A couple times we did not, Your Honor.
You find out you're pregnant?
Yes, Your Honor. He was denying my son from the gate. He's like, are you sure it's mine?
Mr. Hunter says people told him Ms. Davies was out at parties, acting real suspicious. She says she went out but denies doing anything shady. The judge reminds her she's already admitted to a whole lot. So why stop now?
People tell me that she been hanging out, hopping in and out of cars. I had a friend that told me they went to a party one time and she hooked up with some guy at the party. That was around the time when the baby was finna be conceived.
You just smirking, Miss Davies.
I did go to parties, but as far as me hooking up with guys at a party, that is false, Your Honor.
Mr. Hunter says he was at Ms. Davies' house, dozed off, and woke up to another guy and girl in her room. Ms. Davies confirms she was about to have a study session with them. The judge's face says it all. This is beyond messy.
One day, I'm at her house, right? She let me stay over her house. I accidentally fall asleep longer than she brings another guy and another girl upstairs into the room. While I'm in there.
That is true, Your Honor. I did let him come over just because he was drinking. He said he needs to sleep it off for a while. So I'm thinking he's gone. And so I did come with the guy and the girl to my house and my room.
After all this, Ms. Davies suddenly realizes Mr. Hunter doesn't trust her. Shocking. The judge reminds her that she gave him every reason to doubt. The audience isn't sure whether to feel bad or just shake their heads.
This is hurtful to hear all these things he thought about me.
You can't be too hurt right now, 'cause it's not the first time. I caught her in the kitchen. We sitting in the living room one day, and then she gets up and walks to the kitchen, and she's in the kitchen for like 10, 15 minutes. She's supposed to came back already. I walk around to the kitchen, and she's damn near standing in between this guy's legs. Like, you know what I mean? What is that about?
Because you say it hurts to hear you.
Ms. Davies says Mr. Hunter barely interacts with Jaden and even skipped his birthday. Mr. Hunter says he didn't want to deal with drama. The judge reminds him that a 4-year-old doesn't care about all that. He just wanted his dad there.
He's present in the home, but he does not physically interact with Jaden. We just had a birthday party for Jaden. Devon didn't show up.
And she gonna start tripping on me and all kind of stuff, because we weren't, like, at that time, she was mad at me anyway. So
Doesn't matter, you're still supposed to show up to his birthday party.
If I came to the birthday party,
But
she
if
would have
this
been jumping all over me.
Ms. Davies comes in with proof, hair texture, height, and even how Jaden stands. The judge looks at her like, ma'am, that's not how DNA works. It's cute, but science is about to settle this.
I have evidence right here. Look at Mr. Hunter's hair and look at my son's hair. They both have curly hair, nice hair. My hair is nothing like that. My hair is nappy. I need a perm.
And I understand you're looking at texture of hair. Don't say good hair, baby. All hair, if you have some, is good.
All right.
Moment of truth.
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Hunter, you are not the father.
I told you.
This whole mess kicks off like the wildest reality show ever. Mrs. Simmons says Mr. Burgess begged for a baby, then vanished when she got pregnant, while he swears it was just a fling. They both came ready to argue, and trust me, it only gets messier from here.
Ms. Simmons, you claim that the defendant begged you to have his baby, but then disappeared when you told him you were pregnant. So you're here to prove to Mr. Burgess and his fiance that he is your son's father.
If bad choices were a sport, these two would be champions. Ms. Simmons says they met online, hit it off, and had intimate violence on the first day, without working protection. Now they're in court, debating who's responsible, and it's already chaotic.
We was talking online at first, and we was talking over the phone, and he had told me he was single, and then I had came to his house and everything, and the first day I did come to the house, we did have sex on the first day. We just was kicking it ever since then. We was using condoms, but they kept breaking, so we stopped using condoms.
Mr. Burgess, did you tell her you were single?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
They cannot agree on how often they even saw each other. She swears she basically lived at his house, while he acts like she only popped by a few times. The yelling match kicks off, and it's clear they are not on the same page.
We was always having sex.
That's not true, Your Honor. When I met online, I talked to her once or twice. I got her number, and she came over maybe once or twice.
You a lie.
Started three times probably a week for up to between 2 to 3 months.
No, you a lie. I was over there almost every day. I was at your house. So how is it only twice or 3 times? Don't lie, because she's here.
Mr. Burgess really pulls out a whole poster board to prove he can't be the dad. His math makes 0 sense. Something about 4,840 days of unprotected intimate violence with no babies before. Ms. Simmons calls him a liar, and honestly, so would any math teacher.
3 is meaning when she came to my house, the first time she ever came to my house, it was within 3 hours of us having sex. She told me she was pregnant the next day. She was like, I'm pregnant. I said, how you gonna know that? She was like, I know my body. That's what she said.
I never tell you I was pregnant until I had 2 pregnancy tests. So why you lying?
Of having unprotected sex, I ain't never had no baby.
Now, Ms. Simmons says he was the one who wanted this baby. She says he told her he wanted a daughter, then disappeared to Alabama. The plot thickens, but wait until you hear how hard it was to even find him.
First of all, the man asked me, even though we was having sex at the time, he was like, I want you to have my baby. I want to have a daughter because I already have a son. And I want you to have my daughter because I had sent him a picture of the 2 pregnancy tests I took. And when I spoke on the phone with him, I was crying because I was like, starting to get into my life. I was going to school, I had a job, and I was like, I ain't ready to be nobody. So he was like, yeah, don't cry.
The second she got pregnant, this man vanished like a magician. She went to his apartment, and his neighbors said he'd been gone for a month. His excuse? He was just rekindling things with his fiance, who's about to really stir things up.
To get a real hospitalized pregnancy test, they tell me that I'm 13 weeks and 6 days. So I call his phone looking for him. Matter of fact, I popped up at his apartment and everything so I could show him the ultrasound pictures. He ain't there for his downstairs neighbor to tell me that he been gone for a month. How you been gone for a month and I just told you I might be pregnant with your baby? How is that possible? But you call yourself a real man though.
The fiance, Ms. Arnold, found out because she went through his phone. Yikes. She saw texts from Ms. Simmons and called her from his phone, demanding answers. Now she's in court, and the drama is at an all-time high.
I went through his phone. He came to Alabama to visit me one week, but I noticed the whole time that when he was there, his phone was off. So he had to charge his phone up. But as soon as it comes on, 2 text messages pop up. He ended up falling asleep. I looked at the phone. The unknown number said, so this how you gonna do? You sending me to the voicemail.
Judge Lake has had it with the nonsense. She reminds them that if Burgess is the dad, his fiance will legally be in the child's life. Nobody likes that, but guess what? DNA results are next.
Ms. Simmons, what you don't understand is if it is his biological child, barring some extreme circumstance where it would be deemed that he would be unfit to see his child, he would have a legal right to see the child. When you have a child by someone, you're not married to them. If they're married to someone else, that person, by default, becomes a part of your child's life.
And just like that, the truth is out.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Burgess, you are the father.
This is already crazy, and we just started. Ms. Holsinger says Mr. May is her baby's dad, but he says he got tricked into signing the birth certificate. Judge Lake looks like she's about to have a long day.
Ms. Holsinger, you petitioned the court for a DNA test to prove that the defendant is the father of your 2-year-old son, Gabriel. You say Mr. May has abandoned his responsibilities and he will get the truth today. Mr. May, you claim you were pressured into signing the birth certificate and now you are with a woman foolishly believes you are her child's father.
Who knew a late-night chat could turn into a paternity fight? Ms. Holsinger called a chat line because she was lonely. And next thing you know, she and Mr. May were not just talking. Judge Lake jokes, isn't it just for chatting?
I met him off the chat line. I was lonely, so I decided to call and try to basically find something to do.
Yeah, she found something to do, and we end up messing around too fast.
That's what I don't understand about these chat lines, Ron. It's supposed to be chatting.
Yes.
How did it get?
The chatting and things start happening.
So then you met her?
This should have been a big moment, but it got messy fast. Ms. Holsinger says she told Mr. May right away, but he says she waited months. Now he's got questions. And oh boy, he's about to get answers.
I called him and told him that it was a possibility of me having his child.
That wasn't how it was.
Yes, it is.
No. 10 months passed by, and then she just told me that she was pregnant.
Were you all still in a sexual relationship all
Yes,
the time? How many months is that?
I think about 4 months.
I need details.
Yes, ma'am. She called me one day, told me she was pregnant.
This part feels like a bad movie scene. Mr. May was at her house when a car started beeping outside, and she insisted he leave through the front door. He went out the back anyway and found a random guy waiting. Yikes.
One time we was upstairs in a room and hearing beep, 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 beep outside, and, it didn't leave. So she was asking me, was I ready to leave? About to go out the back door, she told me to go out the front door. Open up the back door, there's a gentleman right there. And he asked me, was I there for Mrs. Holsinger? I told him I wasn't there for Mrs. Holsinger. I was there for one of her family members, and I proceeded to walk on out the door.
Mr. May's gut was telling him something wasn't right. He saw sketchy late-night texts on her phone, and a friend told him she was with someone else. Now he's really wondering if this baby is his.
I'm seeing messages pop up on the phone. That led me to doubt too. Not only the backdoor situation, but just text messages. A mutual friend had told me that he had been involved with Miss Holsinger. You know what I mean? And
who was that? I wasn't even in a relationship, so why would I have to hide somebody's
Why would she hide
name and a
herself,
number?
Your Honor?
If there was a time to step up, this was it. But nope, Ms. Holsinger went into labor, and Mr. May was nowhere to be found. Judge Lake calls him out for disappearing at the worst moment.
He wasn't there for me. My family member actually had to go and get him so he could come up there and see my son.
And I had my doubt. That's why I wasn't willing to just go catch the bus or get a ride or anything.
And you know that there is a potential that the child could be yours. Even if Spidey sense has been activated and you've seen other, why wouldn't you show up for the birth?
I had my doubts, Your Honor.
This man says he only signed because her family kept saying, look, the baby has your nose. Even though he had doubts, he just went with it. Big mistake, because things are about to get even messier.
I see here, it says you signed the birth certificate too.
Yes,
How did
Ron.
that happen?
Pressure. He has your nose. He has your head. What you gonna do now? This, that. Let me just be a man. Let me sign the birth certificate. If it's mine, I'm gonna deal with it.
Did you know when you signed that certificate? Did you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
That you would be now
Yes, Your
the
Honor.
legal father of this child?
Yes, Your Honor.
Plot twist. Another guy called Mr. May and said he was the real dad. Ms. Holsinger says that guy was a stalker, but at this point, nobody knows what to believe.
I received a phone call. I don't remember the guy's name. He said he was the father. Another man that she told him that they were going to have a happy family together and move away. And
That's
Really? Who is this person?
I told you he was a stalker. He just pops up anytime I was moving.
Your
at
Honor.
the
Oh,
time.
that's the same guy from
Yes,
the
ma'am.
refrigerator
Yes,
scene?
ma'am. Yes.
Her story started changing fast. At first, she said she was only with Mr. May, then later admitted there was another guy 1 week before. Judge Lake's face says it all. This just got worse.
Were you intimate with anyone else around these dates?
Maybe a week between.
Oh, which week?
I would say the week of the 13th.
So the week of the 13th, you were intimate with refrigerator guy?
Yes, Your Honor.
After all this drama, here we go.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. May, you are the father.
Another one of his family members had texted me. He said, Trey's cheating on you, which we call him Trey, but his name is John. Me, I was hurt. And so I went to be by myself at the pool area where I was at the time. A guy walked up to me and he's like, well, you look like you need somebody to talk to. Do you want to go to my camper and talk?
Over a man who's taking advantage of both of you, and then you sit up and say you don't feel some kind of way because I see too much. If he just leave me alone, I'd be all right. He don't just slip on a banana peel and land between your legs. No!
This case went from 0 to 100 real fast. Mr. Rash believes his wife, Ms. Fuentes, has been cheating everywhere, even with 5 brothers from the same family. He's forgiven her multiple times, but now questions if the kids are even his. Just when things can't get wilder, Ms. Fuentes drops a bombshell twist.
You are here today seeking the results of paternity tests for your 2 children. You claim your wife, Ms. Fuentes, has cheated on you repeatedly. You say she once left you for another man, slept with, even had the name of another guy tattooed on her body.
Yes, Your Honor.
The drama escalates when Ms. Fuentes admits to cheating, but insists Mr. Rash knew from the start. Then, she reveals another man is waiting outside because he might be the real father. Mr. Rash looks stunned as the courtroom collectively gasps. Before anyone recovers, another mess unfolds.
Today, you've also brought another man to court who is waiting outside, who you believe could also be the father of one. Don't you believe Mr. Rash has good reason to doubt paternity?
I do, in fact. Actually, I have cheated on him. I'm gonna admit that, but he knew from the get-go, like, look.
Just when you think it can't get worse, Mr. Rash reveals he found texts from random Craigslist men messaging Ms. Fuentes. He claims the messages were incriminating, proving something was going on. Ms. Fuentes argues they weren't together, so it wasn't cheating. Mr. Rash isn't here for technicalities. He just wants the receipts.
I found out that she cheated on me through text messages that she had in her phone. People on Craigslist, men, incriminating messages, something that should never ever been on her phone.
We weren't together.
It doesn't matter. Even when we were together. Even when we were together. I mean, right there.
So did you confront her?
Yeah.
Now we enter custody drama. Ms. Fuentes claims Mr. Rash took their kids for 6 months, blocking her out completely. She insists she was working hard as a mom. Mr. Rash says he did it because she was out partying instead of parenting. The courtroom watches like a tennis match, unsure who to believe.
He took the kids and wouldn't let me see them for over 6 months. He would not let me talk or see to my kid.
I did take them for 6 months because I felt like she wasn't being a mother. She wanted to.
That's what he wanted to
And
think.
go have fun and party.
This is the kind of moment you pause to process. Ms. Fuentes admits to hooking up with one of 5 brothers during a 4th of July picnic while her ex was in prison. Mr. Rash is furious, questioning how she could love one brother but sleep with another. Even the judge looks exhausted by the madness.
Because she had called me and asked me and said, a 4th of July picnic, would you like to come over? I said yes. I went over there and my ex-boyfriend, which is one of her sons, we were having a good time, and I will admit, me and her son, Chuck, we had a sexual relation.
Enter Mr. Judd, one of the many brothers, casually confirming he slept with Ms. Fuentes. When asked if he thinks he's the dad, he shrugs, saying, nah, the kid don't look like me. Judge Lake reminds him DNA doesn't care about looks. Mr. Judd already seems to regret showing up.
What was the nature of your relationship?
Pretty much just family friend.
But the time of conception matches. You understand that, right? That at the time the child was conceived, you were sleeping with her.
Correct.
Mrs. Judd takes the stand and shocks everyone by saying, she didn't sleep with all my sons, just some of them. The audience loses it. She actually likes Ms. Fuentes and thinks her son is just embarrassed. Just when it seems like things can't get wilder, it's time for the DNA results.
Ms. Fuentes had sex with pretty much all your sons. Oh, how many you got?
I got 10.
Ooh, all boys?
I got 3 girls.
Woo!
She'll do anything in the world for me, and I'll do anything in the world for her. I love her children. Children look at me like a grandmother.
Mr. Rash is visibly stressed, just wanting to know if the kids are his. He says he's been there from the start and hopes for confirmation. The audience sympathizes but braces for the results. The tension is thick as Judge Lake prepares to reveal the truth.
What do you want from today? What is it?
Just want my kids to be mine, and, I'm just going to continue to do what I'm doing.
Mr. Judd, you are the father.
Oh, my God.
This story is straight up messy from the start. Mr. Brown says he found an intimate violence tape of his wife with another man, and now thinks the baby isn't his. The court is about to bring in that guy, and things are about to get even worse.
Mr. Brown, you say there is no way you are Amira's biological father. After finding a sex tape of your wife with another man, you now intend to prove he fathered Amira.
Mr. Brown found the video because their kids grabbed Ms. McKinney's phone, and he snatched it just in time. He played the video, saw something nasty, and shut it off real quick. Now the courtroom is about to meet the star of the show, the other man.
One day, the girls, they like snatching her phone, so they grabbed her phone. Before they could even get to the video, I grabbed it, and it pressed play, and I seen the beginning of the video, and I didn't see what I liked, so I just disclosed it. I didn't watch the whole video.
What was in her phone?
Scrolling through her pictures, whatever, and before they could even get to it, I grabbed the phone.
Oh, because you knew it was something inappropriate.
Yeah, it didn't look like a video, so I clicked on it, and didn't like what I seen, and I disclosed it.
The man from the tape, Jonathan Fowler, walks in like nothing's wrong. He admits he had a year-long thing with Ms. McKinney and met her while her husband was right there. This just keeps getting messier, and now Ms. McKinney's story is falling apart.
Mr. Brown found a sex tape of his wife and you.
Well, when I first met Miss McKinley, we was talking on the dating site, and the day I met her, Mr. Brown was present, but they wasn't together. But I seen them face to face.
Oh!
The dates are not adding up at all. Ms. McKinney told Fowler she was pregnant in June 2017, but he says they stopped hooking up months before that. Nobody knows what's going on, and the judge's face says it all.
Me and Miss McKinney met up, and she told me she was pregnant in June of 2017, summer.
What did she tell you exactly?
And she's ready to give birth.
So who did she say the father was?
She didn't tell me.
I said it was complicated.
I believe it was complicated because, like I said,
I was back and forth with him and him.
What's April 9th, and Amira was born April 9th.
Mr. Brown refused to sign the birth certificate, and so did Ms. McKinney. She didn't want him on it because of child support, and now everyone is confused. If you think this is bad, just wait for what's next.
When Amira was born, where were you? Were you there?
I was present.
Did you sign the birth certificate?
No, I did not.
I refused to let him sign it.
I said no because Amira didn't look like me. That's why I said no.
That too.
Why did you refuse?
Because since we're married and I get public assistance, they're gonna try to hit him with child support.
But you all were legally married. So why would he have to be on the hook for child support if you're legally married?
I didn't want him to sign a birth certificate.
The results drop, and boom.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Fowler, you are not the father.
Thank you.
This case is straight up wild from the start. Fisher regrets signing the birth certificate because Doyle just told him he might not be the dad. He loves them both, but his whole world is about to flip upside down.
Mr. Fisher, you claim you made the biggest mistake of your life by signing the birth certificate for 2-month-old Sophia. You say your fiance dropped a bomb on you just 1 month ago and admitted you may not be her father.
Doyle explains how she got tricked into thinking Fisher cheated, so she went and did the same thing. Turns out, Fisher never cheated, so she ruined everything for nothing. This is some next-level bad decision-making.
I was on vacation with one of his family members in Florida, and another one of his family members had texted me. He said, "Trey's cheating on you," which we call him Trey, but his name is John. Me, I was hurt, and so I went to be by myself at the pool area where I was at the time. A guy walked up to me, and he's like, "Well, you look like you need somebody to talk to. Do you want to go to my camper and talk?"
Fisher was clueless until after Sophia was born, and then Doyle finally spilled the truth. He had already bonded with Sophia, so this news crushed him. And just to make it worse, he had proposed while she was keeping this secret.
The day that I found out she was pregnant, she had threw up like 3 or 4 times because she was feeling sick. We purchased the pregnancy tests. She took them. One had a faint line, and then one had both lines. And I was happy. That was the best day of my life.
So whenever I seen the lines, I was kind of upset. I was like, well, this isn't happening, you know?
Fisher thought he was living in a love story, but really, it was a disaster movie. Doyle knew the truth, but still said yes, hoping it would just go away. Spoiler, it did not.
What happens in your relationship?
I told her, I went to work that day and I was thinking about proposing to her because I love her. She's my world. I got home that day, I had the ring in my pocket. I told her how I felt. I said, "I love you, you're my world, you're everything I've ever wanted. I want to take this family to a whole nother level. Will you marry me?" She said yes.
Fisher was the happiest man alive, coaching Doyle through labor and signing the birth certificate. He had no idea he was in an emotional landmine. Now everything he thought was real is in question.
When she was giving birth, I held her hand. You know, I felt like I was the dad, which at the time, I was pretty sure I was. I held her. I kept telling her, push, push, push. I want to see my baby. And afterwards, right there, I held her. I signed the birth certificate and everything, because I thought it was my baby.
The courtroom calendar exposes the ugly truth. The baby's birth date lines up exactly with the time Doyle was in Florida with Camper Guy. Fisher is staring at the math like it just personally attacked him.
Sophia was born on January 15th. You took vacation April 21st to May 1st. And that's the window of time in which you cheated.
Yes,
Admit
Your
it.
Honor.
When you calculate it, the window of conception would be between April 19th to April 26th for a child born on January 15th.
Yes, Your Honor.
Instead of flipping out, Fisher says he'll love Sophia no matter what. Everyone in the room is shook because this is not the reaction they expected. Even Doyle is crying because she knows she doesn't deserve this much kindness.
That's my baby no matter what, and you're my wife. I love you.
Why did that bring you to tears, Miss Doyle?
Because he's so understanding, and if it were me in his position, I wouldn't have stayed.
You don't know how hard it is.
The moment of truth is here, and Fisher is sweating bullets.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Fisher, you are the father.
Oh boy, this is already messy. Ms. Thomas and Mr. Nelson were together for 6 years, had 5 kids, and now he's questioning the last one? This is just the start of a wild ride.
Ms. Thomas, you claim you spent 6 years in a relationship with the defendant, Mr. Taylor, and gave him 5 beautiful children. In return, he cheated on you and is now questioning the paternity of your youngest child, 8-month-old Jakai. You are here to prove paternity and win him back.
Turns out both of them were messing around. Mr. Nelson says she was already with other guys when she got pregnant, but Ms. Thomas swears he was the only one. Somebody is definitely lying, and we're about to find out who.
It was good in the beginning when we first started having children. And then after that, it's like me and her started like both doing our own little thing. And we was already about to split, but she ended up getting pregnant. But at that time, she was already messing around with other guys. So I didn't know what to believe.
It was rocky, but I was not sleeping with different men. Mr. Nelson was the only one that I was sleeping with at the time, especially during my conception date.
Ms. Thomas says he cheated the whole time. She stayed because of their history, but he claims the relationship was already over. If that's true, why is he still acting so mad?
He cheated on me throughout almost our whole entire relationship. We went through hard times. Why wouldn't you want to make something like that work with somebody you had all these years with, all these kids with, and you just want to...
That's why I don't even know this chat, like, man.
He gave up the relationship. I wish it was that easy for me during them times to just throw it away.
It was easy. I asked her, Your Honor, I said, are you gonna leave this guy alone? She said no.
Mr. Nelson went full detective mode and found things in her purse, a man's photo on her phone, and noticed she started coming home late. Ms. Thomas says he was already emotionally checked out, but the real proof is coming next.
How did you find that out?
The dude's picture was popping up on her phone.
It didn't start like that. He decided to leave because at that time we did grow apart.
I used to find stuff on her purse and everything. She'd be like, I'm going to work today. She'd come back and be like, you like this outfit right here? I'm like, yeah, where you going? If anything, I've been here with the kids all day long, all 4 of them. She did. She came in at 5 o'clock in the morning. I was like, where you come from? So I'm grown. I can do what I want to do.
Ms. Thomas pulls out an ovulation app like she's in science class. She says she only slept with Mr. Nelson during her fertile days and even brought receipts. But before he can argue, someone else is about to call him out.
I also had an app on my phone tracking my periods when I'm ovulating, and I have it right here.
So you were tracking your cycle.
Yes,
Was this with the intention of getting pregnant or not getting pregnant?
He actually wanted me to get pregnant.
She told me all them days with him. She said that's why every time she had sex with him.
And now his wife steps up. She found a video proving he was still sleeping with Ms. Thomas. Oh, and the way she caught him? Priceless.
It's a video I found. The video is dated April 3rd, which would have been, the first day or so that she had showed up in Greensboro. All I know is I saw her demeanor when she came around, and she was kind of like high-stepping. I'm like, okay, this is a person that's supposedly supposed to be so hurt. Like, why is she grinning? And then I saw his demeanor, and he looked guilty. I put 2 and 2 together. That's not right. Why is she extra happy and he's looking crazy?
Mr. Nelson finally confesses after getting caught again. Ms. Thomas then drops another bomb. He's been telling her he still wants to get back together. The audience loses it, and Judge Lake is ready to end him.
So, Mr. Nelson, your wife discovered a video of you having sex with your ex, now mistress.
Yes. I made a slip up.
He's comfortable from going from wifey to side chick.
I'm
It's
not
weird.
nobody's side chick
And it's
because
weird.
your husband is the one that tells me
It's
he
weird.
wants to leave.
But that makes you a
For
side
me,
chick.
No,
That
it
makes you a
doesn't.
side chick. We're
No, it does
legally
not.
married.
Wait a
That makes
minute.
you
No,
a
it
bitch.
does.
Ms. Thomas brings receipts, text messages from 3 weeks ago where he promised to leave his wife. His wife is shocked, and Mr. Nelson looks like he wants to disappear. But Ms. Thomas isn't done yet.
He texts me. He calls me and tells me how much he misses me and wants to be with me. It's not the other way around. And I have messages to be with
Did you bring the messages to court with you?
Yes, Your Honor.
These messages are dated from 3 weeks ago. What is your plan for real? So are you really gonna leave her this time? Mr. Nelson, I want my family back.
Ms. Thomas finally lets it all out. She thought they'd always be together, and now she's watching him move on like she never mattered. Judge Lake tells her the hard truth. They're both being played.
Over a man who's taking advantage of both of you, and then you sit up and say you don't feel some kind of way because I see too much. If he just leave me alone, I'd be all right. He don't just slip on a banana peel and land between your legs. No!
The moment everyone's been waiting for. Is he the father?
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Nelson, you are the father.
This case started off wild, and the wife was not holding back. Ms. Brown Murray was mad her husband thought she cheated while she was literally dodging bombs overseas. She swears she stayed loyal, but her husband's doubts were about to take center stage.
Today you say you stand before me outraged because your husband has accused you of infidelity while serving in Iraq. Furthermore, you claim he now doubts paternity of your child. You argue that your wife did indeed cheat on you while serving overseas. You contend that there's no way you could be the father because she announced she was pregnant too soon after returning home.
Mr. Murray was straight up stressed out while his wife was away, losing 25 pounds from all the worrying. He was scared younger guys would steal her since he's 22 years older. And then a bomb literally shook his computer during a Skype call. Just when you think it couldn't get worse, he found out she had a male friend overseas.
She went overseas the day after Valentine's. What made it scary for me, first time me being alone in another state with no family, is she still gonna have love for me? It's a lot of men's on base, younger men's. Keep in mind, I'm 22 years older than my wife. So that has a lot to do with my being guilty or bad conscience.
Oh boy, here we go, the just a friend excuse. Ms. Brown Murray says the guy was only a buddy, but her husband wasn't buying it. To prove his point, he brought in a mystery witness to spill some military secrets.
Yes, because I guess he was scared because I had a friend while I was over there. I mean, I built a friendship with a friend, so I guess that's the reason why he...
Well,
a male friend.
Yes.
It was also a judge. While I was there in the apartment complex, I met a few people. Lex has 85% of military people either still active or not. He said, which really, this is when I really got worried.
The anonymous military witness was so dramatic, it felt like a spy movie. He claimed cheating was super common on base and that soldiers live by the rule. What happens on base stays on base. Ms. Brown Murray shut that down real quick. But then Mr. Murray pulled out his next big clue.
Well, first and foremost, I don't want to bring any discredit upon the military because the actions of soldiers, they do not reflect the military. There are a lot of times where you join the military and you're away from home, and so the first thing you can do is cling to people who are around you. You develop a camaraderie. Pretty much what goes on base stays on base.
Mr. Murray went full FBI mode after hearing his wife giggle on the phone, saying he's not stupid. He thought she was mocking him and hiding something, but she said he just doesn't get guy-girl friendships. Then, out of nowhere, he dropped the biggest bomb. He didn't even think the baby looked like him.
She's talking to him. I heard her tell him, he's not stupid. She ain't talking to her mother like that. She ain't talking to her sister like, who are you talking to? She said his name. And I said, she said, the man called you. I said, well, who's he calling stupid? And she said, you?
What?
And I said, why would he call me stupid? Because you got new shoes and you're excited.
Now, the baby drama really kicked in. Mr. Murray had low sperm count, his baby looked nothing like him, and his wife got pregnant way too fast. The only way to settle this? A DNA test.
I had doubt. I had man's discharges unusual, and the doctor told me years ago that it had something to do with my sperm cells were weak. When she got home, it happened so fast.
It has been determined by this court that you are her father.
Thank you. Thank you.
This was totally insane. Mr. Webb wakes up from a coma and finds out Ms. Forrest is pregnant with a baby that could be his or her husband's. Now he's here ready to fight for full custody.
You have been waiting 2 years for this day. You claim the defendant, Mrs. Forrest, left you for dead only to find out once you got out of a coma that she was pregnant and that the baby could be yours or her husband. You and your husband are here today desperate to put an end to this drama. You say you have no doubt your daughter's biological father is indeed your husband.
This whole thing is messier than a spilled milkshake. Ms. Forrest met Mr. Webb while her husband was in trouble, and they hit it off. She left her husband, and they didn't use protection, which led to, well, this.
My husband got in some trouble, and I ended up meeting Mr. Webb through one of my friends. We hit it off. I ended up leaving Mr. Forrest for Mr. Webb.
So you began a sexual relationship?
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you using protection at the time?
No, Your Honor.
It didn't happen like that at first. Yes, we was in love, but towards the end, I was on life support.
No.
Imagine waking up from a coma and finding out you might be a dad. Yikes. His aunt tells him first, then Ms. Forrest calls and says, yeah, there's a chance. Mr. Webb is sitting there like, what now?
As soon as I got out of hospital, I had got a phone call saying that she was pregnant. I heard it from my aunt first, but on my way to Illinois with my dad, she had called me and told me that it was a possibility that Elena was my child.
So that means she was admitting that she also had slept with other people?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Lake asks if she was with anyone else, and Ms. Forrest says, nope. Mr. Webb instantly calls her a liar, and things get real awkward. The audience is just sitting there like, oof, this is getting messy.
Were you sleeping with anyone else besides Mr. Webb and your husband?
No, Your Honor.
That's a lie,
But when
Your
you
Honor.
called Mr. Webb and said, I'm pregnant.
Which I didn't get back to Miss Forrest until after Travis had done left, or Mr. Webb has done left.
I have a letter from my mom where I was on life support when she came to drop off my stuff.
Which we were already broken up by then.
She had moved into a motel.
Ms. Forrest claims she only slept with her husband when the baby was conceived. But Mr. Webb says, no, we were together right before I went into the hospital. The dates are all over the place, and now nobody knows what to believe.
My daughter was born on May 9th of 2013. And then you take it back 9 months later, that takes it to the week of August 26th through August 31st.
August 26th through August 31st, you were sleeping with your...
Just my husband.
The thing about it, Your Honor, is the day that before I went on to life support, we did have sex.
Mr. Webb finds out about the baby through Facebook. Not even from Ms. Forrest. She says she told his family, but he's like, then why didn't anyone tell me? Now everyone is pointing fingers, and Judge Lake is over it.
I had got an email on Facebook from my aunt that Miss Forrest had Elena.
So you got news that the baby was born. You didn't hear from Miss Forrest herself?
No, Your Honor, not at first.
You heard through your family?
Yes, Your Honor.
I messaged his mother on Facebook and told her what hospital I was going to be at, when I was going to the hospital and everything. Him or his family, nobody showed up.
Mr. Webb has tried for 2 years to meet his daughter, but Ms. Forrest keeps blocking him. He even spent his last $80 on gas to drive there, only to get ghosted. This is just straight up sad.
He wanted to go.
I have from Illinois whenever she told me that I could meet Elena. I spent the last $80 I had to put in gas, changed her phone number, and blocked me on Facebook. 3 weeks later, I tried to contact her to meet Elena, and she would not contact me back. That is why we are here today.
Elena is 2 years old. Have still not held this baby?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Webb says if the baby is his, he wants full custody. Ms. Forrest and her husband basically yell, not happening. The courtroom is so tense you could cut it with a butter knife.
This DNA test proves that I am Elena's father. I will fight for my full custody rights.
And I will fight you for custody.
There's no way he is getting my daughter.
So, Mr. Forrest, you're convinced you're Elena.
Well, he is.
Oh, wait. Are you? No. I'm saying, are you convinced you're her biological father?
There's a possibility, yes.
Judge Lake reads the results, and boom.
That her biological father is Mr. Webb.